In this episode of Nerd Bytes, I'm going to be looking at using NRQL and the histogram function along with heat maps so that I can understand and visualize slow pages on my site. So if I'm in the UI and I'm in browser and looking at the summary screen, my default option is to be looking at median values. So this is great for looking at overall performance, and I've set this to 24 hours. Here's my page load time, around 800 milliseconds. I can get a little bit more detail on that by seeing different categories like first paint, largest contentful paint, and even first interaction. So this is great for overall performance. But what about if I want to visualize slower pages? Well, I've got the 95th percentile button here, and that clearly shows we're kind of going up to like 4, 5 and above seconds for these values. But what about if I want to understand a little bit more detail about what's happening in between those, the frequency, and which are the slower pages? So I might like to use a dashboard and add some charts, and we're going to look at using the histogram visualization to understand those questions. So let's have a look at the histogram function in NRQL. Well, it plots values and their frequency to visualize their distribution. In this example, we're looking at slow pages. It takes 3 arguments. An attribute that we're querying could be duration or first paint, for example. Then we set the width, the max value of the sample range, and then we choose the number of buckets. Select histogram, first paint. The width then, or the max value, might be 10 seconds, and then we're going to separate them out into 20 buckets from the event type page view. It's worth noting that you may need to test and try out different parameters for the visualization to best fit your data. So here's my dashboard, and let's add one of those histogram charts to understand what's happening in a little bit more detail. I'll set my account, and then I'll use the histogram function, and I'm going to choose the first paint, and I just press the comma and it suggests what would I like to choose next. I'm going to go with the width, and I'll choose 10 seconds, comma, and I'll add the buckets. Again, let's try 10, close the brackets, and add our event type. And let's set a time period that gives me a good range of data, and we'll run that query. Okay, so I can start to see that distribution, and sure enough, a lot of them are around 5-6 seconds, but maybe I don't need 10 as my max, so I might just tweak these values. Let's bring this down to 8, but I would like a little bit more detail. So let's tweak those number of buckets, and we take those up to 30, and I'll run that query. Okay, that's great. Now I can start to see, as I hover over here, the different numbers and frequency of those page loads that are coming in around those time periods. I wonder which pages it is. Well, the good thing about the visualization for histogram is we can actually just get a little bit more detail on it. And we use the heat map to do this. We can add detail to that distribution, and all we need to do is actually add the facet attribute to the same query. So once we know how to work a histogram, we can just add a facet like page URL, and we'll get that visualization for us. So let me just add in here at the end, facet page URL, and we'll run that query. That's great. Now I can start to see, as I hover over here, the high frequency in the heat map for certain pages, certain ones here that are slow. This one looks like it's the home page, but I can also see here, this looks like, it's one of my product pages. And this one does seem to be calling out quite a lot of slow pages, frequent, slow first paints or durations. And that concludes this session of Nerd Bytes, where we've been looking at the NRQL histogram and heat map functions. Thanks for watching. Read more information on our doc site, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.